Continuing our look at horror films for the month of October leading up to Halloween, this week we're going to be looking at the film that caused mass insomnia back in the 80s. I'm of course talking about A Nightmare on Elm Street. Oh god, no, not that one. Ugh, get out of it. No, we're talking about this one, thank God. So let's not waste any more time and get stuck in, because if you had questions like where did the idea of Freddy Krueger come from, how is Disney of all companies involved in this film, and why did they ever try and remake this film? Oh right, yeah, fucking money. Then we got the answers for you. Oh, would you look at that? It's number 1. So A Nightmare on Elm Street, which for the sake of this video and my own sanity, I'm just going to refer to as Elm Street, is an American horror film which was classed in the subgenre as a slasher film written and directed by horror connoisseur Wes Craven, first released in 1984. The film follows a group of teenagers who are being terrorized and even killed in their dreams by the same burnt-faced killer with a very iconic bladed leather glove. The film stars Heather Langenkamp, Robert Englund and Johnny Depp in his first ever film debut. Number 2. You might be surprised to find out, or maybe not, that Elm Street contains many biographical elements from Wes Craven's own childhood. The main concept of the film was based on several newspaper articles printed in the Los Angeles Times in the 1970s about Southeast Asian refugees who, after fleeing to the US because of war in Cambodia and Vietnam, suffered disturbing nightmares and refused to sleep. It was also reported that some of the men died in their sleep soon after. The condition seemed to affect men between ages 19 and 57 and was believed to be sudden unexplained death syndrome. The 1970s pop song Dreamweaver by Gary Wright also helped Craven craft the story for Elm Street, giving him not only an artistic setting to jump off from, but also a synthesizer riff for the movie's soundtrack. Ooh, it's number 3. The idea of Freddy Krueger came from Craven's early life, more specifically a memory Craven holds of a night when he witnessed an elderly man walking on the side path outside the window of his home. The man stopped to glance at Craven and then proceeded to walk off. This weird encounter and the image of the elderly man served as an inspiration for the nightmarish villain for the movie. Initially, Freddy Krueger was intended to be a child molester, however, Craven eventually characterized him as a child murderer to avoid being accused of exploiting a spat of highly publicized child molestation cases that occurred in California around the time of production for the film. According to Craven, Freddy's name came from Craven's own adolescent when he was bullied at school by a kid named Fred Krueger. Craven had done a similar thing in his film The Last House on the Left, where the villain's name was shortened to Krug. The coloured sweater that he chose for Krueger was based on the DC Comics character Plastic Man. Craven made the decision to have Krueger's sweater red and green after reading an article in 1982 that said that those two colours were the most clashing colours to the human retina. Oh, number 4. Wes Craven strove to make Krueger different from the other horror villains of that era. Craven remarked that a lot of horror villains around that time were wearing masks such as Leatherface, Michael Myers and Jason. However, although he wanted Krueger to have a type of mask as well, he also wanted him to be able to talk and taunt the characters. So his solution was to make his own face the mask by giving Krueger a deformed and burnt face. Craven also felt that Freddy should use something other than a knife, as that choice of weapon was too common within horror films, and thus the glove filled with knives was born. Ultimately, 2 versions of the glove were made, the hero glove that was only used whenever anything needed to be cut, and the stunt glove that was less likely to cause injury on set. I got 5 on it. Oh, copyright strike. Wes Craven had begun to write the screenplay for Elm Street around 1981 after he had finished production on Swamp Thing. Craven pitched the script to several studios, but each one of them rejected it for different reasons. The very first studio, however, to show some interest in the film was none other than Walt Disney Productions. Yep, that's right, bloody Disney wanted to make this movie. However, Disney wanted Craven to tone down the content to make it suitable for children and pre-teens. Another studio to show interest was Paramount Pictures, who eventually passed on the project to pursue another film, Dreamscape. Eventually, however, New Line Cinema picked up the project. New Line had only ever distributed films up to that point, so Elm Street would be their first produced movie. New Line Cinema, however, actually lacked the financial resources for the production themselves, and so they had to turn to external finances.
Oh, don't believe it, it's number 6.
Principal photography began on June of 1984 and lasted for a total of 32 days. During production, over 500 gallons of fake blood were used for special effects production. For the blood geyser sequence, the filmmakers used the same revolving room set that was used for Tina's death. While filming the scenes, the cameraman and Craven himself were mounted in fixed seats taken from a car while the set rotated. The film crew inverted the set and attached the camera so that it looked like the room was right side up. Then they poured the red water into the room. They used dyed water because the special effects blood did not have the right look for a geyser.
Number 7, baby. Number 7.
The scene where Nancy is attacked by Krueger in her bathtub was accomplished with a special bottomless tub. The tub was put in a bathroom set that was built over a swimming pool. During the underwater sequence, Heather Langenkamp was replaced with a stunt woman.
You wanna know a secret? It's number 8.
About halfway through the film, when Nancy is trying to stay awake, a scene from Sam Raimi's The Evil Dead appears on a television. Craven decided to include this scene because Raimi had featured a Hills Have Eyes poster in The Evil Dead. In return, Raimi featured a Freddy Krueger glove in the tool shed scene of Evil Dead 2.
Good heavens, number 9.
A Nightmare on Elm Street premiered in the United States with a limited theatrical release on November 9, 1984, opening in 165 cinemas across the country. Grossing about $1,271,000 during its opening weekend, the film was considered an instant commercial success. The film eventually earned a total of $25.5 million at the American box office.
I say, old chap, it's number 10.
Elm Street spawned several sequels, as was common for a slasher film in the 80s. They include A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge, A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Wars, A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master, A Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child, Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare, Wes Craven's New Nightmare, and Freddy vs. Jason. Elm Street also got a remake, unfortunately, simply titled A Nightmare on Elm Street, and it was utter shite. Through the first film and its many sequels, Freddy Krueger quickly became a horror icon, being cemented as a classic horror movie villain. Elm Street would also be one of the many films that people would associate director Wes Craven with, being one of his most successful films. Well, there you go, 10 facts about A Nightmare on Elm Street. I'll be honest, if I was in that movie, I'd be fucked. I love my sleep. Anyway, if you like this, then why not check out our other Film Facts videos. They cover both film and TV, and all this month we're taking a look at a new horror film each week leading up to Halloween. So if you don't want to miss out on that, or you just want to help out the channel, then why not consider subscribing and hitting the bell thingy to stay notified. And of course, do the like and share business if that's your cup of tea. But thanks for watching, guys.